What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time joining today, my name is Noah Cavanaugh and I'm a pro footballer from Seattle, Washington. In today's video, we are going to be doing an interview with Jeff Addai, who is the co-founder of OPSM, the agency that I work for, and also a professional player. So he does both jobs incredibly well. He's a fantastic number six, wonderful guy, and a great agent. He's been really great to me and to the rest of the guys that he works with. So it's going to be a fantastic interview. I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. I've got some great questions lined up for him and hopefully give some really good content for you guys to enjoy over the course of the next hour or so. Without further ado, guys, let's hop into the video. All right, guys, thanks so much again for tuning in to another interview. I've got Jeff Addai, who is my agent and also a professional player. He's a co-founder of OPSM along with his brother Godwin. Is currently in Vasa, Finland, which is seems like a fantastic situation for you. You're going to be there. I think you were there last year, there this year, and then perhaps a third year potentially.
Yeah, potentially. And actually, I'm in the talks right now with a few other clubs to kind of make a move. I've been training with another club locally here as well. So it's
There
been
you
a
go.
crazy kind of last 3 to 6 months here in Finland. So I've
Fantastic.
been training with a few clubs in recent weeks in Luxembourg as well. So really excited to see what's next.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, I appreciate it, man. Love the channel. So happy to be on it.
Absolutely. So let's walk through, I guess, first things first, talk about maybe your youth career up until like the end of university, what that was like for you, where you grew up playing, and sort of what your mindset was. Because obviously you've been a pro for several years now,
Yeah.
and so what that mentality was like when you were younger, moving up the ranks into college, academy, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I guess to go through a bit of my bio here,
Hmm.
obviously, majority of my youth playing careers was in Canada. I'm from the capital city, Ottawa, and I grew up playing locally with a really dominant club there.
Hmm.
Um, After that, I was able to get a scholarship to go play in university. So I did 2 years in Michigan. I went to school in Michigan, into Spring Arbor, and then my actually the first year I got there, that was the first major injury I had, big setback with tearing the
Okay.
ACL. And then the following year, I ended up winning the conference championship. Had a great year, scored the game winner and like double overtime. Literally, however you could imagine
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
Literally, the Cinderella story happened, and then after that, I actually had that my first taste of professional football when I moved over to Albania. I must have been around 19, 20. Went to Albania, was playing there, was loving it. Actually came back in the summer and was supposed to go back. And when I was playing in the summer with the Michigan Bucks, I actually tore my other ACL now against Chicago Fire in a game. So super unfortunate. Kind of got into a point where didn't know what I was going to do. Kind of left school, was pursuing the pro route. Everything was on track, and then had my second major setback in my career and also in my life at this point. And from there, actually, just the game before University of South Carolina was actually there watching one of my teammates, and the coach saw me, and they were kind of I was in talk with them, but I told them I was going professionally. But when they saw that happen, they still kind of offered me that scholarship, and I jumped on it. Jumped on it.
Yeah.
Went there the first year, didn't play. Second year played, was able to graduate with a degree, and then right after my career with South Carolina, ended up signing locally to the local professional club at the time, Ottawa Fury, and
Hmm.
they were playing in the NASL. The team actually made it to the finals that year. I was there. Lost to New York Cosmos though. However, in the finals, saw Raul play in that
Wow.
game, Marco Senna in their last game. So it was a historic moment, and it was cool to kind of experience all of that. Right after that, actually, one of my teammates was the Team Canada captain at the time, named Julian de Guzman, and he had a huge major career in Germany. And he was able to connect me with an agent who have a great relationship with even to this day, and
Hmm.
was able to go play in Germany for a few years. And then that was really an amazing experience for me to be playing in Europe. I absolutely loved it, living there and embracing the culture, learn German, um, played in Germany. After Germany, left there, and then actually had a spell where I was kind of training and playing with a third division club in Portugal
Hmm.
called Primeiro Dezembro. After that, basically made my way back to North America and ended up playing with the Tulsa Roughnecks, now FC Tulsa. And then following my season there with FC Tulsa, came to Finland to play for VPS, a prestigious club over here in Finland and Vasa. And basically that's where I'm at now. Basically been training now with another local club team here, and kind of been in talks with a few clubs here in Europe, and kind of still now back at that place where to see where that next move is going to be. So it's
Definitely.
kind of exciting times, even with the bizarre circumstance with COVID. But
No
kind of
kidding.
that's kind of a good synopsis of kind of my career so far, and now it's just about that kind of those next steps.
Definitely, definitely. What do
Yeah.
you reckon is the big difference between playing? So obviously you sort of were in and out of the, sounds like the semi-pro and professional game when you were like 19, 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Um, Going back into college for South Carolina, how was that transition? Was it like a easy transition, so to speak, or was it still like a similar level?
Yeah, I think it's actually really different, to be
Hmm.
honest. And I give a lot of credit to players who are playing on all different types of levels, because it's very different playing professional football and then playing soccer in North America, whether it's
Yeah,
NAIA, Division 1, Division 2. It's in a way, I actually feel like it's a complete different sport. I know a lot of people who've had stellar NCAA careers and not really good professional careers, or vice versa, had
totally.
not good NCAA careers, were in and out, gone on a professional squad, and had an amazing time. For me, my first years were really good, and in college, I think I did pretty decent. I don't think I did as well as I feel like I could have, though.
Hmm.
That kindly had things to do with recovering from the ACL. I
Yeah.
feel as well in that one season I had, I guess in D1 with um, South Carolina. But
Hmm.
in terms of like the play, I just feel like it was a different style. It's a lot more athletic
Yeah.
in college, a lot more up and down. Whereas in Europe, I feel it's a lot more build up play. Things I like more, a lot more possession, a lot more tactics,
Hmm.
just a lot more thinking literally goes into it. And
Yeah.
it's just a challenge I absolutely enjoyed, but I absolutely enjoyed playing also in college in North America. So I think it's just completely different experiences, and it's just about trying to adapt and learn and excel wherever you're at, in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I think that's super important. And I think a lot of players, a lot of players think that, and I'd love your opinion on this because the young players that I talk to through the channel are
Mhm.
often like, is it important to find a team that plays my style of play, or is it important that I adapt myself to
Yeah.
the playing style of wherever I get an opportunity? And that's kind of the juggling thing, right?
100%. I think that's it right there. And I've had that question asked to me as well. I
Yeah.
think it's so important that you're able to adapt to where you're at. The
Hmm.
the team that your dream team, where you want to play, if say you're a tiki taka play, you want that possession team. That's going to come as long as you're performing where you're at. People
Right.
will find you. So my biggest thing is, no matter where you're at, whether you're unsigned, signs, on the club of your dreams, or on a club you absolutely hate, try to perform your best, try to do your best in whatever situation you are. And I feel like opportunities always finds itself.
Definitely. Well, and it seems like too, I mean, I don't know if your style of play was similar in college, but it seems like now your style of play, you're a six, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your style of play, I mean, obviously from your highlight reel and some of the games that I've watched you play, you're a very physical player, but you're also really smart up here. So it's like you're able to use both of those things to your advantage, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and I think it was something huge that I had to work on. I
Okay.
think I've had good strength, and I think I always tried to improve my athleticism. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I've focused just as hard on my technique and studying the game, watching videos, those YouTube videos versus Paul Scholes versus this. I don't know how many times I've
Totally.
watched videos of that nature. Literally content from YouTube like yourself kind of
Yep.
really wasn't there when I was younger. So I was
Hmm.
kind of doing more on my own. But all those type of videos I'm absolutely obsessed with watching, and that I think improved my game and awareness on a tactical standpoint, and just watching as many games as possible. Then also technically, I'm the type of person that absolutely loves to train individually or with a partner or in small groups, and I feel like that's why I've been able to excel in all these different components, and it helped me in these different countries I've played in so far.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
At what age have you always played six, or what other positions have you played in your career,
No,
both
like
professionally and youth?
okay, yeah. In youth, I think at first I grew up playing as a striker. That was very short.
Okay.
I think at 12 I stopped, and then after I turned 13, I was always playing like a six or an eight
Hmm.
from then on. And then if, and when I first got into college, I was an eight, and I got converted back to a six. And then since then, I've really been playing as a six. And then recently, I've been kind of moving more of a box to box type midfield, and that's just with me really focusing on trying to improve my stamina, trying to improve my game, and trying to be more
Uh-huh.
adaptable to kind of how the sport's going now. Because to play in the midfield now, you have to be able to do everything. So that's kind of how
Definitely.
my training's been focused, and my training regime as well.
Well, and as of the those recent highlights, you can score some bangers too. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had one or two bangers in my days now, but seriously, that I think
Yeah.
like for example, it was just trying to get more forward. I feel
Hmm.
like that's why I had more success with goals.
For sure.
That's my goal, 100%, to be able to be fit enough to be able to get in these positions, and after that, it's just down to execution. And I feel if I put enough training in on the field to be able to score those type of goals.
Absolutely. A big question that a lot of people were interested in asking you, because of your history of playing pretty much in the midfield for the most part, is
Mhm.
what age would you recommend youth players? I mean, you can go as young as you want, obviously open-ended question, but how young is it important to start training a very specific position that you think you're good at, or a coach thinks you're good at?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the best thing you need, and I was lucky in that standpoint. I had my dad who played. I had good
Okay.
coaches at a younger career, so they really helped me train and be specific to my position. And I
Hmm.
feel like the earlier you could do that and kind of really get an identity for yourself and for your game, the more you could solidify yourself in teams, right? On the contrast, though, if you're a player who who could play multiple positions, I know you're very flexible with the positions you could play. That could
Very.
also be super beneficial. So if
Yeah.
you're good at that, yeah, for sure. But if you find yourself not so strong in other positions, and
Hmm.
that's kind of where I was like, man, I'm a midfielder. This is for me. I just
Hmm.
completely focused on that, and from
Totally.
as young as possible. So for me, it's wherever you're at. If you feel that you basically are in level of position, you feel most comfortable there, then focus on that. If you're a player who's able to play multiple positions and you succeed in these different positions you play, then that's not a problem at all. Go ahead and continue to, push yourself in these different positions and different areas on the pitch.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the last game I played for since I got injured was I played four different positions that game,
Jeez.
and
Yeah,
scored a
left
goal.
back,
So it
center
was like,
back,
yeah.
winger, strike. Like I'm
Yeah.
literally watching your game, seeing you play all these places. So it's cool, man. I wish I
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it is a confusing thing though, because I think you are, when you go out to a training pitch, and a lot of, I think on the off season, especially when you've got either a small group of people or
Mhm.
you're training by yourself, it is an interesting dilemma, right? Is like, okay, as a player who I'm supposed to be able to play sort of wherever the coach puts me, what do I train right now? And that can be overwhelming for a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. So when that question comes to your head, being a younger player, it should be like, what
Hmm.
identity do you want to be? Because when you're
Sure.
going to the training fields, when you're going to play with these players, this is where you're building your identity. That's going to translate on the pitch whenever you make it to a team. So that should be in your mind. And when you are able to kind of establish that, you'll know what you should be training.
Definitely. That's great advice. Yeah, that's super awesome. So let's jump in then to sort of the start of your professional career. Maybe we'll start with Albania. You were with an Albanian first division team correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Team.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the team was in Albania, first division, rich in history. I was actually connected there from my assistant coach from the university I was at in
Okay.
Michigan. His dad was a famous soccer player for that club, and
Oh,
he
wow.
was able to just send me over. I was living with the family, playing in there. They've had numerous amount of players playing on the national team and in the Champions League. So it was absolutely crazy experience, crazy culture.
Yeah,
It was so difficult, but I would never take it back. It kind of built me to who I am today.
definitely. What kind of things were challenging for you, especially because you said you were 19 when you were there?
Yeah, I was 19,
Yeah,
and
wow.
it was a really struggle at first because the country was completely different.
Mm,
There's actually not a lot of black people even in the place. So I
for
remember
sure.
going on the bus on one of my first times there, and I literally had the whole bus staring at me, and I was like, "Whoa,
Mm,
what's going on here?" And I had a lot of incidents, even just maybe walking to training one time,
mhm.
people coming up to me saying things. So it was very difficult on that standpoint, but thankfully on the team, the guys were very good. So it kind
Mhm.
of gave me that hope and belief that, okay, whatever, some people are saying things, but I know what my focus is, and that would help me be able to get through that. So that was a huge challenge I absolutely had at first, being in Albania. But after, when I was able to meet the right people and people who were really good, I was able to kind of get in more of my comfort zone, let's say, and I was able to, start really focusing on why I was there.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think especially so I assume it was pretty racially targeted abuse. Is that you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so, um, and I think that's something, I mean, props to you for getting through that too, because, like, as a 19-year-old, some guys just don't have the maturity to deal with that kinda stuff,
Right.
especially when it's on, you're in a foreign city, you're not near anybody you know, it's a language you don't speak, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera, et cetera. What kind of things go through your head when obviously you mentioned the team. Are there other things or other techniques or tactics in your mind that you're able to get over those things, or sort of, I don't want to say empathize, but like, what is sort of the way that you navigate those situations, and how do you move forward from them?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And what I've seen to realize is anytime you're moving to a different place, whether it's a different university, a different local club as a youth player, or even now being a professional player moving to a different club as a professional, the
Hmm.
biggest challenge you're going to face is when you first get there. So
Mm,
for me, what I try to establish now is try to get a routine as fast as possible. The
yeah.
faster you get in your routine, when you're waking up, when you're training, when you're doing your extra stuff, when you're doing your film sessions, your personal, when you're watching the YouTube videos, you know what I mean? The faster you could get in that routine, the more comfortable you'll be. You'll know the times you're calling your family, and then you're much better positioned to succeed. But I know people who kind of transfer to a new place, and they don't have no groceries bought. They're eating out every time, and then you can never just get a hold of yourself, and then it makes you so much more overwhelmed. So the biggest thing whenever you're kind of move into a new place, a new environment, is to try to get in a routine as fast as possible to really help you kind of assimilate into whatever area you're in.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. The
Yeah.
One of my favorite authors, it's a book called Extreme Ownership by a Navy SEAL called Jocko Willink. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard of it,
I haven't
but
heard that.
his it's an incredible book. But it's a great for leadership and stuff. But the big thing he says that I think is so on brand with what you just said is discipline equals freedom, and
Yeah.
that can be like emotional freedom, mental freedom, through those routines and through that discipline, which I think is huge.
No, that's 100%. So I'm actually gonna have to get on that book now for sure.
It's amazing. I'll send you the title. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were in Albania, you got home, and obviously had the stint with South Carolina, graduated,
Mhm.
and then you were signed with Ottawa Fury, which was NASL at the time.
Yeah.
Since then, when was the CPL? Are they in the CPL now?
No, yeah. So Ottawa Fury. Now there's a team in Ottawa called Athletico Ottawa. So it's a different organization.
Oh,
So
okay,
they folded that team I was on. So
okay,
now the local team there is now in the Canadian Professional League. Yeah, the
got it.
CPL.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how was Ottawa Fury, and what was that like? obviously you went first division Albania, then to college soccer. Now you're sort of in the professional game again with Ottawa
Mhm.
Fury. Um, and you're in your home city, so it's a little bit of a different vibe too. How was that
Yeah.
like for you?
Well, luckily enough, it was a super professional environment the time I
Mhm,
was there, because that was the year the team went to the finals, and they've had the national team of Canada who was there, who had a huge influence on me. They had
mhm,
really big players who are still playing now, and a lot of MLS players, a lot of players who played overseas, a lot of players from Brazil. So it was an extremely professional environment, even though
mhm,
it was in my home city. So that kind of took me back, right? And it helped me really focus on wanting to improve, wanting to even be better than these players and challenge them. So I
mhm.
think I was lucky to be in that type of situation. And I think it prepared me to be able to go off into other professional environments and actually be able to succeed.
Definitely. Did you guys
Yeah.
ever play against FC Edmonton?
Yes, at that time, yes, they would have played them right
Because
before.
I know. Do you know who the Niasi twins are? Sani and Sana.
Yeah, I heard of them actually. Yes.
Yeah, so they're good
I
friends of.
wasn't there when the team ever played against them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're good friends of mine from Seattle, and I'm trying to get them on the podcast as well because they were,
Okay.
Gambian internationals and all that stuff, and those guys are rapid, like
Yeah,
rapid, rapid.
huge. And I'm
But
friends with a
anyway,
few Gambians. That's how I kind of heard of them.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's awesome. It's such a small. It's amazing, like how small the world of football is.
Super small. So you have to make sure whoever you get encounter with, you're good to them, and because you never know
Yeah,
where these
that's it.
people end up. Seriously.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk more about that because that's like
Mhm.
that's one thing that in the pro game that I've made mistakes in for sure. Um, burned unnecessary bridges, but because of stupid emotional responses. But like, talk
Right.
about kind of what that mentality is like for you in well, and now obviously now that you're an agent and you're doing things with OPSM, that's a completely different environment, right? But like as a
Yeah.
player, what is your recommendation for when you're in a really kind of a crap situation and you're like, wow, I don't know how I'm supposed to empathize with these people who aren't treating me very well?
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, because of OPSM, that's probably why I have a different standpoint on this than maybe
For
I
sure.
would have before. And I can't really remember how I was before. But
Yeah.
now going into it, I understand that every connection is so important
Hmm.
because those relationships that you build or that you have, they end up everywhere. Like players move, coaches move. And as
Hmm.
long as you're still able to have a good connection with all these people you're coming in encounter with, the better you're going to have a chance for you to succeed, or even in my case, help other players succeed from
For
connections
sure.
I've built while I was playing. So I think for me, it's one of the most important things to me, and it just helps you. And honestly, just helps you be good to people. Good things happen to you. You establish a better name for yourself, and I think that should be
Yeah.
important for yourself as a aspiring professional player or a current professional player.
Definitely. So you guys made it to the final with the Fury. How was that experience like with all those, unbelievable players being around those
Yeah.
guys must have been insane.
Yeah, yeah, crazy experience. I remember like that was the first time I've experienced the bonus. Like I remember
Okay.
like they gave, like the whole team like $2,000 to $3,000 bonus just to go. And at this time, I wasn't even a starting player or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it was exciting. It was a
Yeah.
good experience. And yeah, to see Raul in person playing his last game, absolute phenomenal player. Watched him growing up was an amazing experience. So I took a lot from it, and it inspired me to want to do more. And kind of all the players I saw who were foreign there kind of made me want to go back abroad. And so Germany was amazing to kind of pursue that right after being in Ottawa.
Definitely. So you were there. Yeah. So talk then about that transition. Obviously you had been in Europe before. So it was you with all the things you learned, was it easier? Was it kind of similar, more difficult? What was the playing
Yeah,
style like over there? That
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah. So following Ottawa it was much easier to adapt in Germany because of my experiences in Albania. I think once you could go there in Eastern Europe, you could go anywhere. So then,
Yeah, true.
yeah, yeah. So Germany was great. I think I really embraced the culture, met great people,
Hmm.
have some of my best friends are still there, and also like the style of football really matched how I was. It's very intense. They need to be a
Hmm.
really intense player, but also you have to have a lot of different type of attributes in terms of technical ability, your physical ability still has to be strong, but you also have to be really tactical to play in Germany. So I think it built all those components in my game, and I improved a lot. It was always my goal to go back one day. Who knows? Maybe that could happen in the near future again.
For sure.
But I think that's an ultimate place for a player to play and develop. And yeah, it absolutely took my game to the next level again.
Definitely. Is there something about like what makes Germany such a great place to play from a systemic standpoint and
Yeah.
maybe like a style standpoint?
Yeah, and that's great because it's super structured there in terms of the
Mhm,
organization from the clubs.
mhm,
First of all, it's so professionally ran all the way from the first Bundesliga down to, let's say, the seventh, eighth tier. All of those clubs are you're getting paid to play, so they take it way more
wow.
seriously. So right away, you know that you're in much more hostile and professional environment, and just the
Mhm,
way the players are much more educated, and the coaches as well are so educated and so tactical and really understand the game. Most of them play it as well. The structure is there for you to really embrace the game, learn the game, and then it's up to you to succeed. But because the players are so intense, it pushes you every training session. I remember the
mhm.
training sessions I had there were like no other. The type of work you have to put in to just keep up was huge. So I think that's the main thing that Germany has there, is that it's so structured, and the intensity of everyone who is involved in your club will be very high. So that's what kind of puts you to the test every single session, every single game.
Definitely. Is that a place that even if you weren't going to get paid to go to Germany as like a, let's say someone straight out of college, 21, 22 years old, even if you're not getting paid, is that in your maybe top three places just to go develop?
Yeah, great place to go develop, because and also from like the sixth, fifth division, you're going to be getting paid. So
Okay.
I even know now with the company, there's a lot of teams there that we suggest players go to that have
Mm.
good structures and could kind of support the players who are there, help them with their visas and stuff. It's an absolutely great place. If you have an opportunity as a player to go there, I'd strongly suggest it.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
And it's close to Denmark, which I'm very familiar with. So that would be
yeah,
cool.
right. Okay, yeah,
That's
it's awesome.
awesome. So how did the opportunity with Roughnecks? So it was obviously Roughnecks FC prior to FC Tulsa once they rebranded and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's USL Championship. How did that opportunity come about? What was that like? And how was
Yeah.
that transition from German football back to the
Yeah,
US?
so exactly like we were talking about before, about like, connecting with people and being good with people. I was in Portugal, training with the team, and
Hmm.
when I got back to Ottawa that summer, that coach actually made a transition to be an assistant coach at Tulsa. And
Oh,
kind
wow.
of I remember it was being like the last day, and I was going to go back to Portugal, and I
Hmm.
got a message on Facebook from the head coach of Tulsa now, who I have an amazing relationship with still.
Hmm.
And I remember him messaging me on Facebook, basically saying like, "Hey, what are your plans?" I was literally going to tell him like, "Yeah, I'm going to Portugal tomorrow. What do you mean?" And he's like, they basically invited me out. They were looking for a six, someone in my position. So I remember going there at the end. It was right near the end of their season. Going there, went there for like a week trial, ended up doing really well. And it was because of the recommendation from the coach who knew me in Portugal, where I was just training and I was supposed to go back there, but he made this change. And then I was able to get that opportunity because of that coach whose name is Zhao, and huge person in my career.
Hmm.
You get those as a player. There's certain people who really could help excel wherever you're at. So it's like
Yeah.
we were talking about before. I can't stress enough, and so important to build these strong relationships with these people you're coming encounter with.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And FC stylistically, how is it different from Germany?
Um, yeah, the USL, I guess.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah. Different experience. USL is a lot more professional
Okay.
than when I was younger, and at the time I was there, it was really professional in terms of off the field, even, and then on the field as well. The players were the players were good. I think that it's a different style of play. It goes
Hmm.
back to that, obviously, no, more North American style play, where everyone's super athletic, super strong, but also people are very technical and skillful.
Hmm.
It's just a bit more up and down than Germany, where it's a bit more structured with their build-up play and stuff. You could kind of probably find more transition play in the USL in North America. So you have to be good at 1v1s, 2v2s. Being able
Yeah.
to be in these type of positions. Those players really excel there. So I think
Hmm.
that those were the biggest differences. But I absolutely loved my time there, especially in Tulsa.
That's awesome. And what made you decide to go back to Europe then with your, I guess,
I was
the team you played with last year?
Yeah, it was really opportunity. Tulsa, we started off in the high there. I was one of the vice captains at the year I was playing there. We started off a high. Ended up the season didn't end off too well. I actually ended up with surgery at the end of the year, so I didn't
Wow.
play the remaining maybe 10 matches. And I remember after that not knowing what I was going to do, whether
Hmm.
I was going to stay, what was going to happen. I had a good conversation with the coach, and basically at that time it was going to be a crossroads. And then I remember in the off season kind of not knowing what I was going to do next, and then had an amazing chance to go to Finland, and then
Hmm.
the opportunity came and got to play in an amazing club.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, maybe we'll jump into some injury stuff because I think that's really important for guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, two ACL surgeries and rehabs, plus
Yeah.
what do you have surgery on at Tulsa?
Yeah, I had my meniscus, and then I also had two other hernia surgeries.
Jesus, man.
Yeah. So far I've had 5 surgeries, and I also had a foot injury like that was pretty severe, but I didn't end up getting surgery with it. So I had 6 really major injuries where I was out for 3 to 6 months to a year.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe talk about that and like what your mindset is and how over the course of your career, if at all, you've progressed from, you know, I guess the level of devastation. I don't know if that question makes sense, but like
It really
how you
does.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, feel like if you've been injured, you understand these type of questions. So
Totally.
totally get where you're coming from. After the first injury was the ACL.
Yep.
This was when I was 18 years old, first year university, with so much expectation and ambitions for myself. So that one obviously I it was new, so it kind of hit me the hardest.
Hmm.
Um, I think at that point you don't know what's next, so you're trying to kind of look for other people who had similar experiences to understand what the process will be.
Hmm.
But for me, as soon as I understood the process, I got my confidence back, even in my rehabbing, in my training, and I knew that if I see that this person did it, or I understand kind of what obstacles I have ahead of me, as long as I work hard, I'm going to be able to get back. And once I had that confirmation, I was able to get through it. And then after I was able to get through my first ACL, even though the second one came maybe a year or two after, I
Hmm.
I knew the process, so I was strong in getting back after that. And then following that, it was my hernia, and ended up needing surgery on that. Knew the process again, got back again, hernia, got back, and then again with the last one in Tulsa with the meniscus, had the injury. But it's all about understanding what the process is going to be, as long as you commit to it right away, because
Yep.
the faster you could get the surgery, the faster you could go ahead and do the rehab, the faster you could start watching those highlight videos, your past highlight videos, players you want to play with, the faster you could get running again, jogging again, doing those light exercises that are going to literally make you better. I personally feel, well, it's actually happened in my career. After
Hmm.
every injury I've had, I've been able to, take a higher step in my career. So I feel
Okay.
like as long as you have the right mindset, and I truly mean that. My performance coach, Jake Teal, and he's always talking to me about mindsets, and even though he's working with all the OPSM clients, I'm probably the one who gets the most, and I work with him the most to be able to continue even playing. And I think
Hmm.
it's all about the mindset of being able to understand where you're at, understand that it's a process, everything you're doing. And
Hmm.
once you're able to, be up for that challenge, just like being up for a challenge of the game, then you're going to be able to excel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. How much do you sort of buy into positive psychology mentality versus like more of a realistic look at the game? Like where are you on that spectrum of being no matter what, it's a positive opportunity versus, oh yeah, this is going to suck for a while, but it's going to be okay. Sort of like realistic look, like where do you stand and why do you
Yeah,
believe that way?
yeah, I think I'm extremely positive. I'm really, I think I have very good self-talk in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So if a situation happens, I really don't take what people say to me, because when I had my foot injury, actually
Mm-hmm.
the doctor told me that I wouldn't be able to play. I know people hear that all the time, like, oh, they said they're not gonna. I was literally told that, but like I just didn't take it seriously from the
Yeah.
doctor, and because of that, I feel like I was able to get back, and I don't even tape my ankles anymore or anything. I completely forgot about that until recently. I was talking about that with someone, like, hey, didn't that doctor say I wasn't going to be able to play? And
Mm-hmm.
it was crazy. So because of situations like that happened to me early on,
Yep.
now I'm extremely positive in everything I'm doing. I'm very optimistic, and I have a strong faith with God. That's a
Mm-hmm.
huge thing with me. It's part of my routine every morning. I think that's helped build me as a person to understand that you shouldn't really put any limits on yourself. I'm not
Mm.
the type of person to put any limits on me or anyone who's close to me or anyone who works with me. It's a big thing, that philosophy that I have, and I think that everyone, especially in that OPSM family, has, that there's really no upper limit. And Jason Teal will preach it all the time. And then because of that, I believe with all these obstacles, I'm kind of on that spectrum where yeah, I could do it.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your faith has helped move you through some of those big obstacles in your career? Like in not just
Yeah.
injuries, but some of that racial stuff and like and some of the other challenges you've had?
Yeah, extremely. I think my faith in God, growing up in a family where I was going to church, but not even about going to church, it's just about really building a relationship with God personally. Feel like when you're able to establish that, a lot of good things could happen to you, and that's 100% been it for me. There's no way I could have achieved what I've done or even been through what I've been through without having a strong and positive relationship with God that's ongoing. And I'm still
Yeah.
doing it now. I'm still conscious about it, and I feel like that's the biggest reason why I'm happy every day, still doing what I love, and still like excited for what's next.
Definitely. Well, it seems like you got a lot coming up in the next month or so. It's a very
Yeah,
exciting time.
yes, no, man, it's super exciting time, and honestly, the faith is high, and the training regimes decided it's highest. So I'm excited to see kind of what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. So how old are you now?
I'm 28 now.
28. So as you, and obviously you're sort of in your, starting in the prime of your career. So this is maybe a
Yeah.
question for moving forward, but as
Mhm.
you do move forward and same with me, I guess, as we get older as players, um, maybe talk about the importance of recovery and the importance of, because I think, as a high school student, I could train 7 hours a day and
Yeah,
never be tired, right? And like
yeah,
your body's okay with that because it can adapt. But where where does that start to shift to a more equal balance between mental training, meditation, prayer for someone like you or people of faith, like all that stuff? Like where does all that stuff fit in as you get older?
yeah. Well, first, what I would say is the sooner you could do it, the better. So
Okay.
if you're a player who's young listening to this today, this
Yep.
interview, start right away. Start as soon as you can, because that I could have saved myself so much time, so much injuries if I would
Yeah.
have known things. I was the type of player that didn't stretch. People tease me, Jeff, you never stretch. Didn't stretch, didn't understand, but it was really because I didn't know. I didn't know about all the what it actually took to be a professional at the end of the
Hmm.
day. I think if you could start being a professional, even when you're not, as a kid or as a youth player or as a college player, you're gonna be able to have a much more successful and longer career. So
Definitely.
for me, it's 100% in my routine. Everything that you're saying, focusing on all of those aspects in the game, on the field, but most importantly off the field, in terms of my recovery, in terms of my diet, is
Hmm.
huge. Sleep is something I really need to improve, but I'm
Hmm.
conscious of it, and people get on me about it. But that has to do with just hard work rate, but still
Yeah.
I should be more, I should be more conscious with it. It's something I'm really trying to focus on now.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think as a young person or anyone, as soon as you can adapt and kind of be conscious of all these things and start working towards them, the much better for your career.
Definitely. Yeah. And 2017, I believe you started OPSM with Godwin.
Yeah, so it would have been around 2017. Um,
Okay.
Dates kill me. I'm the worst. So there's probably
Yeah.
things that I said today that you're gonna go check
No,
online. It's
fair
gonna
enough.
be different dates. So sorry ahead of time if that happens. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, 2017 is when we basically started OPSM really.
That's awesome. So, what was the decision to start that company? Why'd you start it? And then maybe, I mean, shameless plug. Obviously, I'm involved. You're the
Yeah,
co-founder. So, like,
yeah.
what is OPSM? What is your sort of ethos, and what are you hoping to accomplish with OPSM as you? And what is that balance like as a profession? I mean, you're an
Yeah.
agent. You're doing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's a similar balance to when it all started because it all happened very naturally. It was
Okay.
never a thing like, hey, let's start a company. It honestly just happened, and then you're like, oh, we have a company.
Yeah.
It was more like that. And the
Yeah.
thing that happened was myself and my brother, right after I played university, we went basically on a trip and on trials to England, Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, and we literally went door to door trying to, find an opportunity for ourselves. And me and my brother went together. I completely left us out of the story. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
skipped
No, it's
straight
all
to
good.
theory
This is
like
amazing. Yeah.
it just happened. But this is really what happened. So we were going to these places, and my gosh, it was the hardest time ever. We were like faking like we were supposed to be at the trial and trying to force our way to being kicked out of so many sessions, then finally got opportunities, and because of that actually at the end of it wasn't actually a successful trip until the very end,
Mm,
where we kind of learned so much kind of trying to make it and trying to like be our own representatives and agents, that we learned so much in kind of these experiences in France and all these different countries we went to. But in this time, we built so many relationships that after, when we got back to Ottawa, um, that's when I kind of knew how to talk more, and my brother knew how to kind of represent more and had a good relationship with people we met there. Like Gus Castillo
hmm.
actually helped me. Then I got signed to Ottawa, and then Godwin actually was able to go to New Zealand from connections we built in that time and go play professional there. And then during that time when we were back in Ottawa, we had like a lot of players that we were just training and doing like individual training. We are doing that like so long ago and doing like individual training, technical training. And then Jason Teal, who was with Godwin actually as a physiotherapist, worked with his physiotherapy. He
Hmm.
was huge into the mental side of the game, and then the company kind of formed on these personal experiences that we're having, and we had a huge philosophy in that it required these four pillars in order to help an athlete get to the next steps of their career. And
Hmm.
as long as they were continuing to build on these pillars, then you give yourself a chance to, continue to develop. And that's what it was all about. So we believe in technical, tactical, physical, and mental. Those were the pillars that we just try to build. And that's what all of our philosophy of our company is really built on these core pillars of development. And then with that is being able to have people who, could advise you. This is something we didn't have when we were going door to door. And that's what was
For
huge
sure.
for us. And especially even in university, players really don't have opportunities, especially coming from Canada and even players in America and even
Hmm.
players overseas. And this is something that we saw that was a huge need in the market, in the industry of North America, especially, that we just were like, okay, we see that no one's really helping people. We kind of have more connections now. Let's try to start helping people, and it just kind of naturally happened until it kind of out of nowhere kind of became such a big impact to a lot of people, and then the company kind of formed during these times, and now we're kind of still doing what we believed in from the beginning and just helping people kind of get to those next steps of their career wherever they're at. We try to provide pathways for these players, and it's been a extremely a hard and
Yeah.
ride, but it's so fun to see other people's success, my own success, and like for example yourself. being able to connect with people who end up being literally like family.
Yeah,
We talk, you know, you talk to these people all the time. I'm so connected to so many people now who I have really strong relationships with, and the thing that's so cool with OPSM is as long as like you know you a success of another player, it just puts success on the company. So
that's
the
it.
company is really all about people reaching to the top and doing better, and as more people do better, we do better. So everyone just kind of working towards the same thing and continuing to grow. And I absolutely love being a part of it. That's why I don't sleep, is because like, you know, I'm so
Yeah,
excited every day to like, you know, work and do more things, work for myself and kind of
yeah.
develop on all these different aspects of my career, but also of my life.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's something that I think I've noticed the difference between OPSM and other crew because I was with with that's a very soft word of saying with
Yeah.
another agent, but like I was represented by a couple other people who ended up being somewhere between like really not great and scam. So, you know, I
Yeah.
that's sort of where I'm at and
Mhm.
I think there is a understand like that's sort of the culture in agency work, right? Is this like this sort of it's kind of gross, it's a little grimy, you don't really know who's telling the truth, and there's cash changing hands in weird places. And I think that's something that has impressed me so much about OPSM, but also about the way that you guys emphasize that family feel and the fact that you and I are on texting basis, and Godwin and I are on texting basis, and Mackenzie, who's the president, and I are on
Yeah.
texting basis. And like, I can just text you a question and you'll be like, oh yeah, here's like a good person to talk to, or like, here's a
Yeah.
personal trainer. And I think like the difference that that makes in, even though I'm injured right now, and I don't know if this has been the case for other players who you've worked with, like the ability for me as an injured player to go, oh yeah, no, I'm good because I have people in my corner who are vouching for me when I get back on the field. It's going to be no problem.
Yeah, and honestly, that's touching because that's exactly what we hoped would happen. Actually, I don't know
Yeah,
if we hope for this to happen. I feel like it's just something we strive for all the
for
time,
sure.
and exactly it, and exactly what you're saying about the agency stuff. Like that's really how the company formed. But it was actually off a scam that happened to me.
Oh
I
really?
was
Okay.
I was in Germany. So, man, there's so many stories. I was in
Yeah,
Germany,
hell yeah.
and there was this club apparently that hit me up from Turkey. They were offering me 10,000 a month. That was this. And listen, when I tell you the contract looks so professional, everything looks so good.
Yeah.
The agent was like, yes, like everything was set. It was this club called Balu. I was supposed to go. I was so excited. I had my bags all packed. Had the plane. He sent me the plane ticket. So that's when you think it's real, when the guy's sending you a plane ticket. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, last thing. You need to send $300 for, and the reason was so good. I forgot the reason, but it was so good. So Goldman was the one talking to this guy, and this was before Goldman was a registered agent or anything.
Okay.
And so Goldman was like, and I'm like, going, hey, if you don't send it by then, I don't know if I could go. So I remember Goldman had to run to the money transfer place, send the guy the money, and then I was supposed to leave the next day. So I remember
Hmm.
waking up the next day with my bags ready to go to Turkey for this opportunity. And then next thing I know, the plane ticket's not working when I'm basically trying to go and show the people at the desk the thing. It was the
Whoa.
biggest disappointment of my life. Absolutely biggest disappointment of my life when that happened. Till this day, we can't even reach that agent. He never responded to us after. And I think that's really what happened with Godwin when with this is
Okay.
really what wanted him to become an agent, when he saw like how he felt like he really disappointed me. Like because
Mm.
like I had all these high expectations and he was so excited to like help and kind of be there for me. And when he saw that it could all kind of just get taken away from you just from the word of someone who's literally honestly trying to scam you, I think that was a huge kind of catalyst and why we started everything we're doing today, is to actually be people who actually care about who we're working with and not kind of just send people off or just take for granted people. And that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. So that's why anytime now with the company, when we feel a player's in a situation when maybe they're not happy or they're worried, we get so scared about that, and we're like, man, how could we help? What went on? Especially as the
Hmm.
company is growing, there's so many cases where things happen. So we try to do our best in making sure that all the players who are working with us are happy and are actually being managed properly. And it's to the
Totally.
point where sometimes we stop reaching out to players and stuff when we feel like there's too many players and we're not doing our best job with who we have. So it's been cool with technology and kind of things we have coming up really soon here, that
Yeah.
we're hopefully going to be launching soon, how we're going to be able to do so much more for more players and kind of help more players. Super excited about that. But definitely, you made a story come out that I completely forgot about, but that was
Yeah.
huge in kind of the origin of what we are now.
Definitely, definitely. And as an agent, this is something, this is, I guess, to weave a little bit of my own experience with you guys together in sort of the way that you would approach this as a player now. Um, Full disclosure, I felt like I handled Los Angeles, my experience in LA Force very poorly. Like that on me. And I
Right.
think like how do you as a player rely on your agency to help you, but also have an equal or even more amount of like, hey, this is me, this is my career. Like, yeah, you guys as OPSM are helping me, but like
Right.
at the end of the day, it's
Yeah.
my career. And like, I
Oh,
know, now in retrospect, like I would have handled LA so much differently. Like, even though, I was
yeah.
playing like really well in training and I wasn't getting the playing time and I wasn't even getting call ups for the first team and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
even then, I still feel like now going back, I look back and I'm like, wow, like all I did was complain about it. And it's a regret of mine for sure in my career. Whereas now I think the perspective is always like, okay, what do I do first? And then
Yeah.
all the extra stuff OPSM can help with. Like it's
Yeah.
easy for them. But as a player, how do you take responsibility for yourself when things aren't going your way?
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. That's the biggest thing. And even now,
Yeah.
before we work with a player, we see how accountable they are.
Yeah.
And if you're not accountable and think people are going to do it for you, and even this is me even saying it about OPSM, don't think even OPSM could do anything for you. At the end of the day, it's you who does it.
Yeah.
You're the one playing, you're the one who is there. So no one
Hmm.
could help you at the end of the day. Not even no agent, no one could help you. If anyone says they can, that's not really true. It's
Yeah.
you who has to help yourself. Even myself, I'm represented by OPSM, but I still feel like I'm accountable with my next steps in my career.
For sure.
And if you don't have that mindset, and if you're not willing to make sure that you're looking out for yourself,
Hmm.
in every decision you make and how you act, and you're connecting and you're networking,
Hmm.
then there's no way you'll continue to succeed. And I think it's the biggest thing that you need as a player. And it's good you're
Hmm.
bringing this up to whoever is watching, is because you absolutely have to be accountable with your situation. And then people who are helping you, people in your corner, could really help push you forward once you're actually doing this. It makes things so much easier for yourself and also for the people who actually genuinely want to help you.
Definitely, definitely. And I think I felt that moving from, because when I was at Fremantle and then we were speaking about like at the end of that season, we were like, oh,
Yeah.
do we want to stay? And it's sort of in the back of my head, I was like, I need a better level. Like I need to
Yeah.
do this thing. And it was sort of a situation where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go network on my own because
Yeah.
obviously OPSM, you guys aren't in Australia. That's on me. And
Right.
so to be able, like how it was so much smoother to be able to say, I'm going to take personal responsibility. I'm going to go network. I'm going to go trial at a bunch of clubs. And then as soon as I have a really good lead, i.e., with Rockingham, I was able
Yeah.
to talk to you and say, hey, this
Yeah.
club's interested, connect you guys. And then you guys work your magic. And then that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much
And
easier.
that's that you explained the ideal situation though that we wish happened all the time. And it's
Fair enough.
starting to with the and it's starting to when you start getting certain type of players, where we're starting to attract certain players like you who are
Mm,
accountable and want it. And then
yeah,
you literally OPSM is more of just a guide
totally.
helping along the way. It's not supposed to be the one literally pulling you and doing everything for you. It's just a guide.
Hmm.
Any agent or manager, that's what they're really supposed to be doing. But it's you at the end of the day that is really going to be able to push things forward. And if you have that mindset as at any point of your career, even if you're older and you're just seeing this now, if you start
Yeah.
doing that, it will change your trajectory. Because I don't know if people know your story exactly, but yeah, you literally brought yourself into a great opportunity where it wasn't just that one team. You had like three teams going over you. And then I remember
Yeah.
you basically forwarding it to the company, like, hey, look, these three teams, what should I do? And then it makes it much easier. Like now we could
Right.
kind of reach out to our network there. Hey, what do you know about this coach? What do you know this? Then these are the decisions that we could really help, that an agent could really help a player with. So I think
Definitely.
that's huge what you're talking about right now on how as a player you have to, take matters into your own hand is basically how I would put it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a big thing, and obviously, it's taken me a long time to learn, but I think it's the sooner you can learn it, the better it will be for your career. And obviously, yes, for you over in Europe, you were saying you were trialing with places, teams in Luxembourg and in
Yeah.
Finland, and some local squads there. Like being able to do that and having the confidence to do that on your own, obviously with the other people in your corner, I think is super important.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's
Yeah,
literally how you make the next steps.
yeah,
By
definitely.
being willing to do things and have the right people in your corner that when things happen, they know how to kind of take it for you and make sure you secure it. That's literally the only way you'll move up.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, well, that's a great place to sort of wrap up. I have a few
Yeah.
rapid fire questions for you that
Okay.
obviously like the young kids are really interested in. Um,
Okay.
so favorite player of all time?
Paul Scholes.
Oh, class, absolute
Yeah.
class player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him. I love him.
Favorite boots of all time, and then if they're different from the current ones you wear, what are the current boots you wear?
Favorite of all time are the total 90s where they had like the circle and the 90 in it. And then now I'm Tiempos all day. I'm always wearing
Tiempos.
Tiempos.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. And 6/8 is your position.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's your favorite team?
Manchester United.
Okay,
Big,
yeah,
big Man
fair
U
enough.
fan.
I should have known from Paul Scholes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Big Man U fan for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. And what is one quick piece of advice you would give to young players?
Okay, quick.
Yeah, yeah,
Really, really to just believe in yourself and not give up on kind of what your goals are. And as long as you could remain positive and keep that self-talk that you have coming to you, the most
mhm,
positive piece of advice ever, you'll be able to succeed, I believe.
definitely. And then what is your like dream team to play for?
My dream team, it'll probably be a dream goal is to kind of reach a Bundesliga team.
Okay.
I remember having people say like, "Oh, that's something you can never do." So I would say that that would be my dream. Just to be able to achieve something that um, seems so far at a point.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Bundesliga team. That would be sick.
Yeah,
That would be so cool. Well, thank
yeah,
you very much for joining me here. This was an awesome interview. I really enjoy. Obviously, you've got a wealth of knowledge in the game and off the field as well, having a lot of experience with OPSM and with a lot of players around the world. So it's been an honor to have you on.
no, I appreciate you, Noah, and I know I'll probably talk to you tomorrow or whatever, maybe
Yeah,
later. But
exactly,
I
exactly.
appreciate being on the channel, man. I love what you're doing for not only people who are young, but for people like me who are still in the career. It's huge what you're doing. So, man, kudos to you. Really appreciate it.
Definitely awesome, man. Well, thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Noah.
All right, peace.
All right, fam, that is it for the video. Thanks so much for joining me today. As you can see, he's got a wealth of knowledge in the football game as well as the agenting game, has a ton of experience in both really great situations and some not so good situations, which I think could be really good learning opportunity for you guys watching as you move into the professional game or continue your professional career. So that is it again for the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you got value from it. As always, guys, be awesome. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.